Hey, welcome back. It's good to have you here. I was thinking the other day about how sometimes the most unsettling thing isn't a loud bang in the night, but a profound, echoing silence. The kind of silence that hangs in the air of an empty room where a family just was, a coffee cup still warm on the table. That's the kind of silence we're exploring today. A silence found adrift in the middle of a vast, blue ocean. I'm Ibnul J. Farabi, and this is Hidden Histories, the Untold Files. Today, we're tackling one of the most enduring maritime mysteries of all time, a story that has spawned 1,000 ghost stories, conspiracy theories, and bad horror movies. We're talking about the Mary Celeste. Found on December 5, 1872, in the calm waters of the Atlantic between the Azores and Portugal. The Dei Gratia, another merchant brig, spotted her. She was under sail, but moving erratically, like a riderless horse. Captain Morehouse of the Dei Gratia knew the Mary Celeste and her captain, Benjamin Briggs, a respected family man. He signaled. No response. He sent a boarding party over. And what they found, or more accurately, what they didn't find, has baffled the world ever since. The ship was completely, utterly abandoned. Captain Briggs, his wife Sarah, their 2-year-old daughter Sophia, and the entire crew of 7 experienced seamen vanished. Gone. But here's what makes the silence so deafening. The ship was seaworthy. Perfectly. It had 6 months' worth of food and water in the hold. The cargo, 1,701 barrels of industrial alcohol, was largely intact. The personal belongings of the crew and the Briggs family were still in their quarters, including Captain Briggs's navigational instruments and, poignantly, Sarah's sewing machine. There was no sign of a struggle, no violence. The last log entry was 10 days old, noting a position just off the Azores. It was routine, and then nothing. But it's the specific, eerie details that really get under your skin. The ship's single lifeboat was gone. The chronometer and sextant were missing, suggesting a planned departure. But one of the ship's pumps had been disassembled, and there was about 3 feet of water sloshing in the bilge. Not enough to sink her, but enough to cause concern. A rope, frayed at the end, was trailing in the water behind the ship. And most chilling of all, when the boarding party from the Dei Gratia cut into the first barrel of alcohol, they found it empty. 9 barrels, in total, were empty. This is where the mystery truly begins. Because for 150 years, we've been trying to fill that silence with an explanation. And the theories, they run the gamut. Pirates? Unlikely. Nothing of value was taken. A mutiny? Possible. But Captain Briggs was well-liked, and there was no evidence of a fight. Sea monsters? I love a good Kraken story as much as the next person, but probably not. One popular Victorian theory was an attack by a giant squid. But again, no evidence. Then we have the more plausible, natural explanations. The most common one is a fear of explosion. Those 9 empty barrels of alcohol. Industrial alcohol, as it ferments, releases flammable vapors. Perhaps the crew heard a worrisome rumbling from the hold, smelled the fumes. Maybe they saw the alcohol barrels breathing, a known phenomenon where vapors force bungs out of barrels with a loud, hissing pop. In a panic, fearing an imminent, catastrophic explosion, Captain Briggs might have given the order, abandon ship. They take the lifeboat, they tether it to the Mary Celeste with that rope, and they wait at a safe distance. And then, the explosion never comes. The vapors vent. The ship is fine, but then a squall hits, or a sudden gust. The rope, that tether to safety, snaps. That frayed end. And the lifeboat, overloaded with 10 people, is cast adrift in the open Atlantic. The mother of all oops moments, with the most tragic consequences imaginable. It's a clean, logical theory. It fits many of the facts. But as an engineer, I have to poke at it. The Mary Celeste was carrying what's called denatured alcohol, which is actually less explosive than pure alcohol. And experienced mariners like Briggs would have been familiar with the sounds and smells of a cargo hold. Would they really abandon a perfectly sound ship so hastily, especially with a woman and a toddler, without investigating further? It's the one piece that never quite sits right with me. This leads me to my own personal theory, one that I've been turning over in my mind. It's not about one single cataclysmic event, but a cascade of smaller, perfectly unfortunate ones. Think about it. The disassembled pump, 3 feet of water in the bilge. That suggests they were dealing with a leak, a persistent one. Not an emergency, but a nagging, exhausting problem. Then, perhaps, they hit a patch of bad weather or a minor seismic sea wave, what we call a rogue wave. It wouldn't have to be a wall of water, just a large, unexpected swell that sends the ship lurching. That lurch could have shifted cargo, making the ship list awkwardly. It could have sounded, for a terrifying moment, like the ship was breaking apart. Combine that with the groaning of the alcohol barrels, the water in the hold, the stress of days pumping. Panic is a virus. It spreads fast. In that moment of collective, cascading fear, the calculation changes. The ship feels doomed. So they leave. They make for the nearest land, the Azores, visible on the horizon just days before in the log. They take the chronometer and sextant to navigate the lifeboat. They think it's the safer bet. It's a tragic miscalculation, a series of small fears adding up to one irreversible decision. That, to me, is the real horror of the Mary Celeste. It's not a ghost story. It's a story of human judgment under extreme pressure. It's about the line between perceived danger and real danger, and how easily that line can blur when you're tired, when you're responsible for a family, when the ocean is all around you and your ship is groaning. As an entrepreneur, I felt a tiny, minuscule echo of that pressure. That moment when a cascade of small problems, a server hiccup, a missed email, a delayed shipment, makes you feel like the whole venture is listing, taking on water. The instinct to abandon the plan can be so strong. But usually, the ship is sound. You just have to trust the build, recalibrate, and keep pumping. So do we solve it? Not definitively. The Mary Celeste guards her final secret. But perhaps the solution isn't about finding the one right answer. Perhaps it's about understanding that some silences are never filled. They just are. They remind us of the fragility of our stories, of how entire lives, a captain, a wife singing to her child, a crew dreaming of home, can vanish into the blue, leaving behind only questions and a slowly drifting ship. The Mary Celeste wasn't a ghost ship. It was a testament to the fact that history isn't just about the loud events, the battles, and the speeches. It's also about the profound, echoing silences, the empty rooms, the warm coffee cups, and the decks walked upon by people we will never know, sailing quietly into the realm of legend. Thank you for listening to this episode of Hidden Histories, The Untold Files. If this journey into the silent past resonated with you, please share it with someone. Let's unravel these mysteries together. For more deep dives into the shadows of history, visit our home at Light Not Studios. That's lightnotstudios.com. I'm Ibnul J. Farabi. Until next time, keep looking closer.